Welcome to the Poetry Lovers channel. Some lyrics are so good they can stand alone as poetry, and that's the subject of Series 2. If you want to see more of this kind of video, please click like and subscribe below. In this first part of a two-part feature on Bob Dylan, I'm going to look at A Hard Rains Are Gonna Fall. It was written in the summer of '62 and released in '63's The Freewheeling Bob Dylan. Let's go through it and see what's there. Oh, where have you been, my blue-eyed son? Oh, where have you been, my darling young one? I've stumbled on the side of 12 misty mountains. I've walked and I've crawled on 6 crooked highways. I've stepped in the middle of 7 sad forests. I've been out in front of a dozen dead oceans. I've been 10,000 miles in the mouth of a graveyard. And it's a hard, and it's a hard, and it's a hard, and it's a hard, and it's a hard rains are gonna fall. First of all, let's go into the influences for the song. Dylan uses a call and response style where the mother asks, "Oh, where have you been, my blue-eyed son?" And the son responds, "I've stumbled on the side of 12 misty mountains." The idea is taken from an old Anglo-Scottish border song called Lord Randall, which Dylan knew. "Oh, where have you been, Lord Randall, my son? I've been to the wildwood, mother, make my bed soon." The song tells the story of Lord Randall, who's been out hunting with his dogs and returns home weary. When his mother finds out the dogs have been poisoned, she's terrified that he's been poisoned too, and by his own true love. So this is a dark and visceral song that may have inspired Dylan. "Oh, I fear ye are poisoned, Lord Randall, my son. Oh, I fear ye are poisoned, my handsome young man. Oh, yes, I am poisoned, mother, make my bed soon. For I'm sick at the heart, and I fain would lie down." Dylan takes the basic form and expands on it. Now it's not just the sun that is poisoned, but the entire planet and all of its oceans. There's a biblical prophetic style which is not in the original. "I've stepped in the middle of 7 sad forests. I've been out in front of a dozen dead oceans." And the first verse ends with its apocalyptic prophecy. "And it's a hard rains are gonna fall." A characteristic of Dylan's work is that he's not afraid to push the listener beyond their boundaries. Not just 2 or 3 lines of apocalyptic visions, he gives us 5 extended verses, and this has a disturbing and hypnotic effect on the listener. Now, Dylan doesn't care whether the listener likes what they hear or not, he just wants them to hear it. The second verse is bloodier than the first. He's not holding back. "I saw a room full of men with their hammers a-bleeding." And notice the alliteration, with 10,000 talkers whose tongues were all broken. There are deliberately mysterious lines which confuse yet attract the ear. "I saw a white ladder all covered with water." Dylan is building up layers of imagery which are terrifying if you think about them. In verse 3, Dylan excites us not just with imagery but with sounds. "I heard the sound of thunder, it roared out a warning." And in verse 4, the tone changes slightly. He surprises us with a happy image, the young girl who gave him a rainbow. And there's the classic lines where one man is wounded in love, one man wounded with hatred, giving us the idea that gaining knowledge always involves pain. I'll read verse 5 all the way through because it's so good. "Oh, what'll you do now, my blue-eyed son? Oh, what'll you do now, my darling young one? I'm a-going back out 'fore the rain starts a-falling. I'll walk to the depths of the deepest black forest, where the people are many and their hands are all empty, where the pellets of poison are flooding their waters, where the home in the valley meets the damp, dirty prison, where the executioner's face is always well hidden, where hunger is ugly, where souls are forgotten, where black is the colour, where none is the number. And I'll tell it and think it and speak it and breathe it and reflect it from the mountains so all souls can see it. Then I'll stand on the ocean until I start sinking. But I'll know my song well before I start singing. And it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard rains are gonna fall." In the final verse there's a lot to talk about. It's the longest of the verses and overwhelms us with its intensity, where the pellets of poison are flooding their waters, which sounds even more relevant than it did in 1963. And notice the facility, the flow of these two lines, where the home in the valley meets the damp, dirty prison, where the executioner's face is always well hidden. It takes a poetic mind to rhyme damp, dirty prison with always well hidden. And there's something special about this line, where black is the colour, where none is the number. This is another of Dylan's lines that tilts the mind off kilter. Who can imagine a place where none is the number? What does it even mean? And then we get to what is likely an autobiographical part of the song, and I'll tell it and think it and speak it and breathe it and reflect it from the mountains so all souls can see it. Now this is a big statement for somebody in their early 20s to make. Dylan clearly had big plans. He wanted to be famous. And the next line is reminiscent of Jesus walking on water. Then I'll stand on the ocean until I start sinking. Dylan shows his great confidence in himself as a performer, but I'll know my song well before I start singing. And his lyrics and his delivery are so good that we believe him. That's it for this episode. If there's any other lyricists you'd like me to cover, please let me know in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and see you next time.